Thanks for coming, everybody. I blab a lot about all the awesome film festivals you have in your region, and I know you stopped listening to me about 2 years ago, so I want the actual source to be here and have you kind of demystify the process. They're really awesome to be here. A lot of them have festivals coming up or just recovering from festivals. They have a lot of work that they're doing that they're coming here to talk to us already. We should give them a round of applause. They'll do their introduction. They have so much work to be doing, and they're living off the pre-stones and cheese sticks. But to come in here and do this is really amazing. So let's bring the festivals to the stage, and then we'll do some introductions and start off with the conversation. So come on up, humans. I will share this other mic, I swear. So we'll start with some introductions. First off, thank you everyone at Lubbock College, Associate's Program, Bachelor's Program. You're in our theater, our main building with a soundstage. But today we're going to talk about film festivals, demystifying the process, some highlights of what works, what doesn't work, what they go through to put on these awesome events, and then just some feedback to new filmmakers who are considering their awesome films as a direction towards a film festival. And so what I'd like to do to start off, I'd love for you just to kind of introduce yourselves, what festivals you represent, also like when is your festival, and then we'll kind of get the conversation going on from there. So, by the way, have I told you yet that I appreciate you coming in and doing this? I know how busy you are, so thank you so much. All right, hand in the mic.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Saunders. I'm the managing director of NIFTY, which is the National Film Festival for Talented Youth. It is the world's largest youth film festival here in Seattle. It's been around we just had our 18th edition. The 19th is coming up next March at the end of the month. We show over 200 short films from filmmakers 24 and younger, which is spread out across over like 30 screening blocks typically. We have master classes, parties, networking events. It's really like the place to be. So definitely come check us out in March.
My name is Christy Spencer. I'm the program director at Townsend Film Festival, and we just completed our festival and are doing some really exciting things. My role has never existed at the festival until 2 years ago, so our executive director and myself are making up as we go along. Do not have a film degree, and it was not a linear path to get to being a program director, and any opportunity that I have to get in front of emerging filmmakers of any age and stage is always exciting to me. So I really look forward to hearing your questions to us.
Hello, my name is Amy Camp. I am the founder and director of the West Sound Film Festival. We just finished our 9th year. It was the first weekend of August. We show films from all over the world and local films as well, so thrilled to be here.
Hi, I'm Charles Poekel. I'm the founder director of the Bainbridge Film Festival. I'm also the chair of the Film and Media over at Cornell College of the Arts at Seattle University. And this is our 3rd year of our festival, and we're on November 6th to November 9th, so we're coming up in about a month, and our program is being announced tomorrow.
Hi everyone, my name is Carlos. I'm a local solopreneur, filmmaker, board member for the Poulsbo Film Festival, and also a judge. And our film festival is this weekend. I'm here with my partner, Kevin, who is the co-runner and organizer for the film festival. Sorry, it's just a little bit of your intro. But that's what you get for sitting up here. But yeah, so we have a busy week ahead of us, and I know I'm going to see a few of you this weekend. Looking forward to that. And yeah.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, my name is Kevin Sheen, and co-founder, executive director per se of Poulsbo Film Festival. We're now in our 4th season doing this event, and prior to that, I was in Shoreline doing the Shoreline Short Film Festival, which maybe some of you have heard about. So when I moved out to Poulsbo, I felt like that was a great setting to bring a film event as well. So, but yes, this weekend, October 10th, 11th, and 12th, opening nights is going to be at Poulsbo Sons of Norway. Got an awesome feature documentary. Those filmmakers will be coming in from Toronto that night. So and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll just keep the mic over there as we go around. So full coverage for this area with film festivals. I love, Ryan, that you were like, yeah, we do master classes and parties. Like that is like your order. And also just the idea that like you don't necessarily have a film festival. There's no normal way of getting here, and we don't want normal stories. And there's no like formula for making this happen. But there's some great insights that we want to talk about. I ran Couch Fest Film, so I have a little insight of how film fests are done. But a lot of times, without doing it, you don't know behind the curtain the process and the weirdness and all the moving parts. So I thought we would just start off maybe just like a short introduction of like what is your process for putting on a shorts program? How are you going through selections? Just so that filmmakers on the other side can kind of appreciate what you're going through and what your expectations are. So I guess just like walk us through the process of what you will be doing to put together a shorts program. Kevin, we'll go this way and come back around.
Awesome question. Big shout out to Couch Fest, by the way. I had 2 films in that festival years and years ago.
Which ones?
Dirty Laundry.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, Here and Gone. Might have been in that? No? Okay, maybe just Dirty Laundry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Old school.
Old school, yeah. I started out as an actor, so there's different ways of getting into these things. But when you realize acting is very difficult to do, I kind of stepped away from that. And I really loved giving a platform to artists. And my parents are artists, so I grew up in that world. And so I love just getting people's artistry and creativity out there. In terms of putting together a shorts program, I think we all sort of do it differently depending on, I think it starts with submissions. So the submission process is really important, and that's marketing the festival, the call, and all of that. But really what it is it's taking a quick look at all the genres that you have, and then, paring them down as much as you can. And there's so many things that go into that. But I think at the top of it, we have, I think it's 8 jurors this year, and those people we really rely on because they've been recruited because of whoever they are in the world of the arts and creativity and what they bring. And so I lean into the jurors a lot. Like, I don't like to program. Like, I do program, but it's like, we'll talk to them about things before I choose anything. So that's where I initially start, but we'll pass it down now.
So to just kind of echo to put the program together for short films, as this year, particularly my role, and to help giving Kevin feedback on film selection. So as a juror and going through 126 films, and we all have different opinions, and so maybe speaking as a filmmaker too, like you're thinking like, my film could get in or not get in because of maybe one person. And that kind of sucks as a creative being like, I just put all this work and effort into putting something together, and because one person maybe had a bad attitude going into watching my movie, maybe it was the 10th movie he watched or she watched in that time block, and they're like kind of just not in the right headspace, and that kind of sucks. But I definitely know like we have almost like back and forth discussions about particular films. Maybe we're heavy on some genres, where we light, can we afford to maybe squeeze one in? Do we do an overlapping schedule to get more films in, or to give people a chance? Maybe also, and then we take other considerations from there. Is it a first time? Is it a student? Are they a senior from around the block? And so, we try to give everyone a fair chance when it comes to putting together that eventually the schedule. It is difficult because, I know this year I can't speak to all the films that everyone else has gone through, but 126 feels like a lot to have to sit down and watch. And we definitely are tried and tested, but I know not all the judges, or not all the people who are having to watch are filmmakers themselves. So I take a much different approach. I'm looking at it from more of a creative and artistic approach versus as just a fan of movies, a fan of films. So I provide that sort of feedback to Kevin, whether or not that helps or not. So I'm all like, yes, accept it. It's great, because I'm trying to put myself in that filmmaker's shoes. Like, what did they go through to get this film across the line? And I feel for them. So again, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I certainly, from my perspective, however that contributes to ultimately the schedule coming together, yeah, it's not easy.
You're also a filmmaker too, so he knows the ins and outs of doing that on the other side.
For me, I think, and for Bainbridge Film Festival, I think it's a lot of it is about organization and balance. Organization that, like, we organize our shorts, we have a nonfiction block, we have fiction block, a late night shorts block. But I've been to festivals, and probably some of you guys have them, like thematic blocks or blocks that are oftentimes just like almost like hitting shuffle, which is awesome and super exciting. There's no right or wrong way to program a block, but that's something that is being thought about by the programmers in advance, right? It has nothing to do with the quality of your film. And within those blocks, balance is a big thing that we're always thinking about. I'm sure you all echo this, right? So it has nothing to do with which were the, maybe the 10 best films we got submitted, right? Maybe 2 of them have almost the exact same subject matter or exact same, have like an overlap that just doesn't kind of naturally work within the same block. Or it's a question of running time because we only have so many minutes to play with. And so there's a lot of these kind of things that come out regarding balance that usually have nothing to do with quality. And kind of every festival approaches differently, I'd say.
With us, we have a group of jurors as well. I give them a rubric that tells them each aspect we're looking at and what we're looking for exactly. We use Film Freeway, which I think everyone's pretty familiar with. So I give a rubric that has everything and what we're looking for from it exactly. I come from a producer side of things. I am always the organizer on film sets. So that's kind of how I look at everything. It's a running joke, don't touch Amy's binder. So I'm the same way with the film festival. I'm very analytical and a lot of organization. A big thing with me is I ask them not to read the synopsis before they watch the film. Do I have any horror filmmakers here? Yeah! Yeah, thank y'all, because at midnight, I have to check the synopsis so I can go to sleep at night. But yeah, fantastic. Y'all terrify me. It's great. But yeah, so I think that's the only time when I check the synopsis because I want to make sure that the film is conveying what it's looking to convey without reading the synopsis and everything. So that's a big part of it. But yeah, every film that we show, if it goes on our screen, I've watched it a minimum of 2 to 3 times. And I'm really big with my jurors that if there is a genre that because I do have jurors sometimes who can't handle horror, so I just ask them to not judge those because you don't want somebody who's gonna rate something low because it's not the genre they like. So that's an important thing to look at.
At PTFF, we have a commitment started predating me that every single film, feature and short, that is submitted to our festival, and in 2025, that was about 520 some films across all categories, that every single film is watched minimum twice. So we have a team of reviewers, about 32 individuals that are split into documentary and narrative categories. And so they will watch both features and shorts within their categories, but they kind of self-select into shorts or features depending on their interest within that. And that is all seen before that even gets to the programmers. So those reviewers, we strive for 3 sets of eyes and a full completed review for each and every film. There are times when 2 reviewers will give a thumbs down, we'll take it out of circulation and not have them in for that 3rd viewing. So when I say 2 to 3 times, that's what I'm talking about. We have a great couple that are retired Microsoft executives, one of them being a developer, and they developed a review software for us. So that rubric that you hand out to them, it's all combined into the software. It makes our job so much easier to review 500 and some films. And so then I can go in as a programmer and sort depending on the highest scores, depending on the categories that you're looking at, depending on features or shorts or any of those down in the nitty-gritty. I love short films. It's probably my favorite filmmaker to have conversations with. I love the puzzle that can become curating a block of short films. Like that is such a Tetris puzzle to me that I think is so fun. And then deciding within a group of films, you know, what should show first, what shows in the middle, you know, that flow, that roller coaster ride that we want to take the audience on is really important. Not having, especially when you get to where you just throw all the films in, shake it up and roll it out and see how they land. I mean, it just almost never works. You might get that one time where that golden experience happens, but not usually. So how I decide the themes this year at PTFF, we usually have 2 blocks of narrative short films, 2 blocks of documentary short films, and a block of local shorts, local being defined as Western Washington. And this year, I didn't find that my narrative films were as strong in what I wanted to put forward to the audience, and so I went into my director's office and said, you know what, I think I'm stealing one of the feature length and we're going to show more shorts. Nobody complained. And it really came down to these blocks of films that I was finding and trying to put them in just came out so sweetly simple. Like it was just, of course you're going with this film, and of course you're going over there. So taking everything that was already stated into effect, from runtime to thematic curation to how well the editing and the sound and all of it went into effect, really plays into how you're making those final decisions. And then the last thing that I personally do, like you said, is I will watch each of those short films in the order that I put them in, and will often then change my mind because it didn't work in that order that we put them all in. So that's my input.
So you've all covered a lot of different things that I was going to speak on a bit, but I definitely have a lot to say on this topic. So I mean, at Nifty, we get about 1,100 to 1,200 submissions every year, and we have a similar process, it sounds like, for a lot of you, where we have a general pre-screening committee that's like a volunteer group of folks. A lot of them are former Nifty filmmakers or younger filmmakers who wanted to look at some of the stuff we have in our submission pool. That tends to, we try to have those at least watched by 2 to 3 people similar to you. From there then, there's like tiers where we have our programming interns, and then we have some volunteer senior programmers, and then there's like actual staff, which is myself and Amy Williams, our program director, that kind of make some of the executive calls when it comes to that after we go through so many tiers. But the thing that's really hard about it, and what we hopefully then I can help by like demystifying this, but we also try to as a festival is we're cutting a lot of films we really love. I mean, if we have 1,200 submissions and we're at most showing 250 shorts, it's still, I'm pretty sure if I'm doing the math right, that's less than a 20% acceptance rate. So we're very frequently making like incredibly tough decisions as we're going through all these films. And I think a thing that at Nifty that's really valuable to us is the intentionality of a shorts program block. We do have a lot of themes that we do every year. We always have, a horror block. We always have a documentary block focused on social justice. But we're often responding to our submission pool to kind of put together, as you use the puzzle pieces, to see like what actually all fits here. And so Nifty, we offer feedback for filmmakers upon request to kind of like share a little bit about why their films weren't accepted, because very often some of the toughest feedback to write is when I'm reaching out to a filmmaker and saying like, well, I actually really loved your movie. We didn't have a spot for it. And it's so similar where it's like we maybe have 2 films that are about something that go together really well, or they're just too similar and we can't like really put them next to each other. Or say we have a block and I have a 20-minute short that's like pretty solid, but I have 4 other ones that are all 5 minutes and they're great. I'll probably put those 4 in it instead of that single 20-minute short, right? So I think, and personally, as like an audience member, that's something we're also thinking about too. Where I think a 60-minute block of shorts that have nothing to do with each other feels twice as long as a 2-hour block of shorts that are all thematically linked. Because your sense of time gets like kind of messed up if you don't really have that rhythm and that element of play order you were speaking on, where that's something we always are hemming and hawing about nonstop, is we're always like shuffling and seeing like, where's this gonna go? What's the story we want to tell with each of these? So that's a major part of it. And then so that, yeah, with so many different submissions to the senior programmers all kind of have their arenas where we all specialize in something. So, I mean, I take a look at a lot of stuff, but I watch all the documentaries and the experimental films. And like with that, we kind of collect everybody's reviews of things, and we're kind of making calls on specific categories in that sense. And yeah, I think I'll leave it there because I could probably talk about that further.
Well, as a teacher, my heart resonated when I heard rubrics and planning, and that's what I think is interesting, just hearing on the other side, that there's a real process. And even with that process, you get a film that you want to be in it, but then you're like, wow, I don't think this is one documentary that's awesome, but I don't have a documentary program. How am I going to make this work? Or you've got 2 films that are great, but they're the same thing. And so, again, what you're saying too is like they have a 60-minute program, and you've got a 20-minute film, but you've got 10 other smaller films that are just as great. So, like, who's going to get that real estate? And I think that process is really nuanced in it all. But the idea that you have jury members, you have volunteers, so it's not just, there's a complete process. It's not bribery, there's a real thing that's happening. And the idea too that like, a lot of times your films are rejected because they're not good. It's because like, again, like, oh, I thought we have a bunch of dark comedies, I got one. I can't put a dark comedy in the middle of like a kids programming. So it's not gonna happen this year. Or, wow, this year I got so many dance movies. I'm not into dance movies, but there's a sure zeitgeist for it. I think we need to make a dance program. So it's a reflection on what's coming down the pipeline that's great, and do I have enough for a program? And also, your programs, they're not 3 hours long. You have a framed 60-minute program. I think this is great insight, just hearing the process. I think for me, the next thing would be useful, you've got a whole room full of filmmakers. I'd love to hear, like, your number one, like, recommendation coming, someone's thinking about considering a film festival. Right now, they're in the process of maybe writing their films. They haven't made them yet. What would be your number one recommendation of like, hey, you're thinking about making a festival destination film? If I could catch you before you make it, this is what I would tell you. What's your number one recommendation for a filmmaker who's in the process of making a film that wants to be in a film festival?
It's hard to pick one.
There you go.
I have a provocative thing I'll say, and then I have something that might be a little more actionable. The provocative thing I would say is that the best short films don't even tell a story. And that's something maybe you can think about as like an alternative way of thinking about your films. And I think maybe a more concrete way of maybe me explaining that would be don't try and condense a feature film into your short film. Rein in your ambitions a little bit. I mean, proof of concepts are cool sometimes. And there's actually this really cool festival I recommend checking out called Proof Film Festival that specializes in showing proof of concept shorts. And we show a lot of them at Nifty. But I often find that people, they try to really shove like a 3-act structure or like this intense overarching narrative into their short, when the short form film format, much like a short story, oftentimes excels at capturing moments or states of mind or milieus. And I think that thinking about it that way can really help when you're trying to capture a specific emotion or a specific feeling, because that's what's really going to stick with us, especially when we're watching so many shorts. But then also the number one thing I always want to also point in is that I always tell this to people, like, at Nifty, we're not looking for the next Wes Anderson or the next Quentin Tarantino. Like, we're looking for you, right? And it doesn't, you can have influences and you can play with your influences and, put that in your form, experiment. But what impresses us is when we see something that has like real honesty and personality to it, less so how clean and accomplished and sharp the project is. And one thing I didn't bring up when you were asking about the way we're looking at shorts and evaluating them, a big thing for Nifty too is because we're a youth festival, we're focusing on age. We're focusing on where the films come from. We get a ton of short films from New York and LA, right? They're major filmmaking hubs. So for us, we're always trying to pay extra attention to is this someone who's maybe an industry kid and has access to really fancy cameras? Or is this someone who was able to produce something entirely on their own in their backyard with their friends or just entirely by themselves, right? And those types of projects usually really resonate with us when there's sort of that independent spirit. So I would say, I guess there's a lot I put in there, but really just always kind of go back to why you want to share something with an audience, as opposed to necessarily just what story do you want to tell us? What do you want to share with us? And oftentimes, you'll find that if you look inwards.
Thanks for the setup segue there. I continue to ask myself, why do I do this job? It's not an easy job. You're judging people's art, basically, at the very core of it. I'm choosing which films are going into our festival. Granted, I'm not doing it in a vacuum. I have lots of other voices involved in that. But asking myself, why do I do that? The answer for me is that I believe that the filmmakers I'm giving this opportunity to deserve for their art to be seen by audiences. I wouldn't have a job if you all weren't making films. So if every decision I make is held up to that, then that's great. So that segues there, and then I pose that back to the filmmakers that I'm talking to at any given moment, whether it's in giving feedback or whether it's an opportunity to talk to you all. And that is, why are you making film? Put that honest piece into what you're doing. Why are you here? Why this story? Why this time? Why now? And once you can answer that, then go forth and make your art. From a festival input, do your homework. I'm making favor with teachers, probably not with students. But do your homework. Where do you want your film to be seen? Granted, you don't need to decide that when you're still writing your film, but do your homework. If you are making horror films, to go back to your example, you're not going to want to submit that film. Don't waste your energy and dollars on submitting that film to a festival that has never had a history of showing horror films. But putting that time and effort into looking for festivals that fit your art, don't make your art fit those festivals. That would be my number one piece.
From a programming standpoint, I would say that 15 to 20 minutes, 15 minutes is about the sweet spot. Once you go over 15 minutes, they're going to start judging it a little bit harsher because that's more films we've got to cut out because your film is a bit longer. When you get to the 30-minute, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but 30-minute is about when we start looking at it as a feature, as a standalone. So if you have what you were talking about, the proof of concept, I've had about 15 films that have been in the West Town Film Festival that have come back with a feature based on that proof of concept, and the best ones have been where they've picked a standalone scene. And a couple of them, actually, off the top of my head, I can think of 3 of them that won awards at the film festival and then was able to get funding because they were able to show those awards. So pick a scene that stands alone and get as many eyes on it as you can. Get as many different opinions on it as you can, and be picky about which opinions that you apply.
Amy, I'll jump off of you in that. Make a short feature because it's 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour for some festivals, but we love hour-long features, and you're usually competing with less submissions, right? I don't know how many. You guys do features in but I imagine, I don't know what your ratios are, but our shorts to feature ratios are wildly different. And we love hour-long, 55-minute long features. And yeah, they might not have a place like, traditional brain like the movie theater, but they absolutely have a place at film festivals. And the last piece I'll say is utilize, on Film Freeway, utilize the cover letter section, because so often when I have films that are like kind of sitting in my brain on the cusp or something, I'll often go there curious about like, oh, is there some connection to the area? What did the person, what did they put in it? I don't know.
I would take a much different stance and kind of go back to the whole, like, what can you do? I'm just going to say, just hit the record button. Just go. Like, why can't Wes Anderson meet Quentin Tarantino and have a crazy idea, and you just have one character, and you just go with it? Put aside maybe the imposter syndrome, put aside the lack of confidence, maybe you surround yourself around people who support your idea and your thoughts, and just want to cheer you on. Whether it's your first film, your fourth film, or your 10th film, just hit the record button and just see what happens sometimes. Maybe you have a good writer, maybe you don't, maybe you wrote it yourself. I don't know, but just do it, because there's nothing like having regret and you missed a deadline, or you're like, gosh, I'm gonna come back to that, and you, like, I feel it personally too, like, you worked so hard to get something across the line, it's not phrasing it, but see it through, just do it. If it's crap, if it's great, who knows? There's probably, what's one man's treasure, another man's treasure? Like, you're gonna have a fan out there, but I just say, just do it. Like, forget about what we've all just said about how we put programs together. Like, it's almost like, it scared you guys away, and you're like, well, crap, I don't want to apply to theirs. They take less films, let's apply there, let's submit there. The fact is, as a creative, just do it. Just hit record. And then from a technical point of view, something that's very passionate to me, invest in your audio. Because invest in audio, please, pretty please. Consistent audio. As a creative, I can't stress it. Just have an idea and just hit record and just go do it and finish it. Finish it, and then see what happens.
Once again, you guys all had great answers, and I'm just going to sort of, kind of piggyback on some of those. But, for me, Charles, it's like those shorter features, like for our opening night for Film Fest this weekend, we have, I think it's a 72-minute, 70-minute feature, and it's like, then we can put shorts in front of that are 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and we can pack in a lot more there. So it's like, actually, we have 4 films we're showing opening night on top of the feature, and then we can get the heck out of that event space that we're renting for a lot of money before 10 o'clock, and then we can all get back, go home and sleep, and then start it all over on Saturday and Sunday. So that is a really good point. We take a hard look at local films, Washington ones, if you're in Poulsbo, Bremerton OC program, we take a real hard look at those films, more than we would take a look at films from the East Coast or LA, like you said, like they have access to major equipment, things like that, because we appreciate that aspect of filmmaking. And once again, I got a camera when I was 16, and I was making stupid movies in Indianola when I was, whatever, just making random stuff, and it was fun, and then that's where I am today. So it's like, it's really cool to see that whole arc in your life, but sound really is important. Doing nothing. Robert De Niro says, like, as an actor, he's like, I just do nothing. It's nothing, he's doing nothing. And it's true, it's like, doing nothing sometimes is a lot, because people are so much more invested in what's happening, and so minimalism is really important. Don't overthink your scripts. And like you said, make something that's relatable. If you get a laugh, comedy is the hardest thing. I think our first year we had no comedy blocks because it's hard to make actual funny stuff. But if you can get a laugh even at a drama or something, like that will stick with the jurors, and then we'll look at that more seriously the next time through.
Cool. What I love about this is I was expecting this event to be like my voice piece, where it's like, yeah, Craig, we really want to have you like shorter shorts and super high production. What I love is the exact opposite of, you're like, make long shorts, and who cares about the quality? Another movie story, which I love, that there's all these different perspectives of what's happening. I think right now, I'd love to hear is, you've been doing this for a while. You've seen a lot of shorts, and then some shorts get in, some don't. What is the easiest red flag as far as like, oh, this isn't gonna make it? Like, I mean, for me, like within 30 seconds, I can be like, oh, this film just isn't there. I have like 100 more films to watch this month. what's your quickest, easiest red flag where you're like, this isn't gonna make it? It's an art school, we're being transparent.
Okay, so yes, you want to look professional too. There's two sides of that. Usually within the first 10, like audiences are very smart now. Like we watched a lot of movies, not just us watching these shorts. Like we're working with art, working with a lot of art house films. Like these are like very experimental. Like there's not traditional filmmaking, and so it's to go back on that. The biggest red flag, honestly, is sound. I think initially, and then composition sometimes, framing, but honestly, acting. I hate to say it, you gotta have some pretty good performers, but then it goes into writing too. So it's like I don't know. Craig, tell me what is the biggest red flag? Here, Carlos, you go ahead.
What do you want us to say?
So we had this conversation on Driver. I was like, they do ask that one question. I don't know.
Sorry.
So I feel like the audience will forgive a shaky camera, but you won't forgive bad audio.
Well, I couldn't hear it at all.
Seriously, so what I was saying is, an audience will forgive a shaky camera, but they won't forgive bad audio.
There we go.
And we have a lot of older folks who come to our festival who can't hear.
Yeah.
And so we have to do with subtitles now, or you really gotta get the audio going.
Yeah, definitely. What can well, I don't want to discourage anyone from doing these things, but I see them a lot so that when I see them happen, it just means that it might pull me out of the experience, right? Which means that maybe you need to redeem it yourself then afterwards. Oh man, is anyone recording? Opening drone shots get me. Like when you're filming to a drone shot, for some reason that gets me. Text that's way too big, like titling that's like way too large, like you've been editing on a tiny screen, like not watching something on a bigger screen. I don't know. Those usually are things where I'm like, oh man, I might be in for a bumpy ride. But sometimes, like I said, sometimes I get surprised, right? Like I right off the bat, I'm like, oh, okay, opening drone shot, here we go, right? But then 2 minutes in, I'm like, actually, this short rocks. So like there's no hard rules. I mean, that's the thing we can all agree on, right? When what makes a festival one year might not make it the next, right? Yeah.
Not to beat a dead horse, but audio is, I think it was the second year we had the film festival. We were still over in Port Orchard. And one of the experimental films was just this snow, and it was just white noise kind of thing, and it was so loud that it blew out the speakers, and I thought the theater owner was going to kill me. I was like, this is the end of the festival. I'm in trouble. But when you have, we're at the Roxy and at Sea Film, which are, surround sound, and when you've got bad sound, it's just awful. You don't know what's going on. The other thing that is whenever the subtitles, I had somebody submitted one, the subtitles all got cut off, and I was like, I can't do anything with this. So yeah, sound, I hate to say it again, but sound's really big, and yeah, if you have another language, we need the subtitles to fit on the screen, please. So.
If I could jump in, so watch your film on like 3 different platforms if you can. So like your phone, your computer, and your TV. I always feel like you use
3 good different variables, because I've certainly experienced that too, especially on your framing. Like if you're trying to go like super widescreen, it can look different on a phone versus your TV. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
One more that's not related. If you can't hold an accent, please don't try. Unless it's like part of the joke. There was one, they were trying to do German accents and they were butchering it. And every one of my jurors was like, no, no, no. So yeah, that's one that the jurors do not like.
I guess I'm gonna go, they've taken sound, we won't beat that horse anymore. I would say this isn't a red flag, but things that stand out to me, especially on short films, when your end sequence, your credits, are as long as your film, I can't call your runtime 10 minutes because you did 5 minutes of a credit roll. I can't do that. So yeah, figuring out who to thank, and then the other thing for me, this does not make me not want to watch the film, but when the actor, the director, the writer, the editor are all the same credited individual, I wonder, have you gotten any input? Are you too close to this baby to have edited it well enough? I have seen it done well, but oftentimes that isn't the case.
I feel like I have a lot of these. I think that what you said, Charles, is really important, where it can always win us back. So when you're mentioning like these red flags, there are definitely some that like will start if the film starts with an alarm clock. You have a lot of work ahead of you to win us back. It's pretty much a lost cause if your film starts with an alarm clock, but it can be done, right? But it's very often this is much more of a student film thing, but like that instinct to start with an alarm clock. It's like, well, my character is starting his day, right? They're starting their day. And you should always like start with an action, typically. I think captures our attention a lot more. Like a more of a unique scenario as opposed to like, sure, okay, they're brushing their teeth, great. Like I do that too. But like I don't necessarily need to always see that all the time. It's a horrible noise to an alarm clock. So like that's a really big one. And I think like all the program artists, we sometimes have like our pet peeves. So like I don't want to like treat these as like a gospel, but like I'm immediately against a short film, if it starts with opening credits, which is because I'm just like, it's a short film. Like you give me your credits at the beginning, you give me titles at the beginning, but I don't need like starring this person, produced by this person. Like, it's a short film. Like let's be real. But then like there's small things like like if I hear Clear Balloon in a film, I'm like, oh, we're in trouble. Like we need to. But like again, we've accepted films that have Clear Balloon in it, so I don't want to be too strict. But there's a lot of like there's little things like that, right? But I think that like most often, just exposure to like watching other short films, because I would just like recommend people do this is like check out short films and read short stories too. And you'll start to see in short films things people are doing over and over again, and that does become really noticeable for sure. We're watching a ton of films, right? So we're seeing these things, and we're picking up on these trends, and then we start fixating on these things when we should be fixating on what you're trying to communicate to us, So it's usually something that avoids a lot of these trends that typically is what lingers in our minds, like days afterwards, things that we have like a harder time piecing together or making sense of, but like spoke to us. So yeah, those are some of the things, I think.
I see the students taking notes, and I just know what they're going to do. They're going to make a film with all these things in it just to torture me. I know what you're going to do. Oh my God. Charles.
You mentioned music, which is a good one, I think worth noting, because sometimes that is a big red flag. Like, you're probably unlicensed Rolling Stone track, you will drop at the very beginning of your film, right? Or like the same Eric Satie song, or same Clear Balloon again, right? Like we've all kind of seen these things, and yeah, you can sometimes work back from them, but we're going to assume that you probably weren't able to license that Rolling Stone song. So, what does that say about, is that like a middle finger to the wind? Is it, does it mean that you don't really know anything? Like, what is it saying about your thing? It takes us out of it.
Yeah. So the big walkaway from this is I teach sound in spring. So these are great actionable recommendations. And before I open up for questions, I remember going through all the college shows. So I'm envious that you're looking at 100 to 1,000. We had so many shorts. And there were a lot of times where you're just like you're like, why am I doing this? Like, there's so many poopy films. I'm not running a mic with my friend. I'm hunched over my laptop for months. I'm living off Kit Kats and whenever I can get a grocery outlet. Just like, this is so dumb. But then that gem of a film comes in, and you're like, fuck, this is so good. And you grab your roommate, you grab your partner, like, look at this. This is amazing. And then like, oh, your job's so easy. You watch these all day long. Like, no, this is the 1 out of 1,000. And this is what makes it to where you're like, I love doing this now. Until the next one you watch, and it's roughing it. But for the gems. So the point is, you could be making these gems, and that's why like yours is going to be the standout. Yours is going to be the film that gets programmed into that short. Focusing on these recommendations. Is it the sound? Do you have access to the music? Is the acting great? Is the script great? Is the accent going to stay true? Like, is this a genuine story? Like, why are you telling this story? All these things will help it be a gem to the film festivals in our area. We could go all, just having you all in the same room, I just want to keep chit-chatting. I would love to open it up to a few questions if you are open for that. I'm going to run around with a mic, just so we can all hear the question, but take a second. I'd love for you to have a question about, here we have this great resource of people that are in the film process, in the festival process, looking at films. What might you be thinking about as questions for people that are putting up an event together? Any thoughts, questions? Up in the front, right?
Give it to you.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a tough one after that.
Yes.
Has there been anything you've never seen in a short film or whatever film that you've wanted to see but it's never, or very rarely comes up?
I've seen it all.
I won't say I've seen it all, but I love when I get surprised. So while I can't tell you what I wish I would have seen that I haven't yet seen, I love when the unexpected happens. And that's a testament to the creativity of the artists that you all are. Right? I love the experimental. We don't have an experimental category at Port Townsend yet. But I love the experimental category when I'm able to travel to other festivals, because that's where people are trying things and they're stepping out on that ledge. So, anybody else?
You know what I haven't seen? I haven't seen your story. I don't know what I haven't seen, but I can tell you I haven't seen that. And I want to just make sure it's so clear that festivals are really competitive, right? But it's not about how fancy it looks. It's not about how slick it looks, how expensive it looks, right? I just want to see a legitimate worldview and perspective. And I don't mean capital T themes, right? You don't need to make a statement or anything. Just something that feels real for you. There was one short that I think about all the time that was submitted to NIFTY last year, and before I had seen it, I think we had two other programmers that really did not like it. They were not that they didn't like it, they didn't know what to do with it. And I saw it before I had read anything, and I was I want to put this in our centerpiece screen. This film is blowing my mind. And I'll give you a quick overview of just the plot of it, because I think it helps make my point, which is the film, it's shot on mini DV, and it's this guy's going on a date with someone, he's a locksmith. And in the middle of this conversation at the dinner table, his nose falls out of his face. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He puts it back on, he kind of freaks out, he leaves, and then he's apologizing, and she's like, no, I'm really into this. Let's hang out. And then they go to another party, and she kind of exploits him for the thing he does with his nose. Everyone makes fun of him, and he kind of panics, and he leaves, and he tries to go home. But his mother's locked him out of the house, and he can't get in. And then by the end of the film, he crawls into his basement where his father lives, and his father is passed out on the couch with a bunch of nudie magazines with all the noses cut off of all the people in it. And it was just so baffling. But it felt so real and so potent, and I was thinking about it for days and days, and I then read the director's statement, and I talked to the filmmaker in person, and I was like, where did this come from? Right? What is this thing? And he's like, it was this horrible cold winter's night in Toronto, and my girlfriend called me, and I was pretty sure the relationship was going down the drain, and I walked it down there, and then yes, that's what happened. We broke up. I went back home, and I was locked out of my apartment, and it was sub-freezing, and then my mom called me and said, Dad's dead. And he's like, it was the worst night of my life. And he's like, and then I kind of just made this comedy in reaction to it. And it's so I watched this film, and I don't know any of that stuff, right? But boy, I know that guy's perspective. I know what he felt that night, and he still made it funny. And so I just, I don't know, that when I saw that, I was like, I haven't met you, Jesse, but now I know you, Jesse, because I saw that thing. And I just think about it all the time. So I would say that that's an example of I knew in that moment this was something I hadn't seen before, because I experienced something very real and human than that person experienced.
So I think the walkaway was when they're watching so many shorts, having something that is original and fresh or heartfelt and genuine is just gonna like stand out. And it's just gonna help the process as you're looking at so many shorts. Having a piece of his nose is falling off, or just something that's your own personal story. If you're making it genuine and it's good, it's gonna be that gem that's standing out from all the other stuff that's being submitted. Other questions? I'm gonna work my way back. Here, go ahead, Juror. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see you in the camera.
Testing. All right, so this is a question. I've been trying to research, like, what are some red flags that film festivals see all the time, and they always like go like, oh, not this again. And I always get that film festivals hate murders or someone getting killed in their film and fight scenes. So I'm wondering what your guys' opinions on that are.
I love fight scenes. I will find the filmmaker and talk to them about their fight choreography. I have a background in Tempo Jiu-Jitsu, and so I love fight scenes. I don't mind murders at all. I can watch a true crime documentary like nobody's business. So I think it's all based on the festival. We're very horror heavy at the West Town Film Festival. A big thing to me is to when running an event or any sort of festival is to shut up and listen to the community. And the horror community is incredible here. So, personally, I love fight scenes. I'm cool with fictional murder and or true crime documentaries. That's just what we're into.
We're cool with murder.
I'll quickly add as just an educator that I talk to my students about this a lot, which is that you have to be showing us something for a reason. So something like a murder or we can find out about that in different ways. Why do we see it and what do we need to see about it that's taking place, right? Maybe we just need to see the person who's committing it a close-up on their face the whole time. We don't see the actual act, right? So how you decide to convey that thing is really important. So I can see why it could be a red flag, because it's basically an important crossroads of fights. This is a real deal. We gotta execute this thing, right? We're gonna level up for this thing, and how we do that.
I'm also agree with everything you both said. There is I've noticed it almost feels like a new genre of a type of short we're getting, where it's this trend I noticed where it's I'm not against violence in short films, I'm not against fight sequences. If they're done well, that rocks. But I've noticed that there's a lot of short films I get now, I don't know if you all are getting these, where it's they're kind of whether they're heist or murder comedies that keep escalating as it goes on, and essentially the timbre of the short is just the characters are yelling at each other and they just keep getting louder and louder and louder, and they think that's so hysterical and so funny. It's not, it's just so annoying. I don't know, they have to listen to these people who are just screaming at each other. I don't know if it's trying to emulate the Coen Brothers or anything like that, but I think that might be the kind of essence of whether it's just trying to shock us or trying to make us laugh by, that kind of jabbing us in the ribs. I think intentionality, everything being motivated is what will make that work,
So it sounds like even if they're still yelling, it's got to feel genuine, or it's just kind of to get your attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mine's kind of with everybody's questions, just because it's kind of a theme from everybody else's question. But what is do you guys prioritize or discourage certain themes throughout films that are getting submitted? Do you guys have certain if there's a theme you guys don't like, do you guys just not put it out, or do you guys think about putting it out because it's a better film or not?
I recently, so this resonated with me because I recently did, I was judging international student films, and the experimental category, and I think maybe we all might kind of feel the same way. As soon as you hear experimental, we have no idea what we're going to see. and I think maybe for me, that's probably the biggest thing. Everything else is pretty straightforward. It's a drama, comedy, horror, whatever, sci-fi, animated, cool. If it's experimental, no idea. And then, I have to read, so I'm what am I getting into? How am I going to mentally be prepared for that? So I would say, for me, it's experimental. I don't know. I feel that's always a tread light but also intriguing at the same time. I'm curious.
So we have a lot. So I love experimental. I want experimental. I want music videos. Another thing that you had a question about choreography, like dance choreography, like that tells a story. Like that has always been like you will grab somebody if you have people dancing and moving on stage. That's a different art form. It's more performing arts. But if you add a camera to it and make it a film, people love that. The music videos are great for that too. There's a lot of great local bands around here that you can kind of score up with on that. But yeah, experimental for sure. But I think for me, it is one of those things of if it shocks you, like you're talking about murders, I think if it shocks an audience, that's okay. I kind of want them to be shocked because at the end of the day, you're watching this thing together in a live room, and I would say like all of these films, they could be not great, they could be great, whatever, but when you watch them in a room with like 100 people, it's like, it changes the feel of the films. I don't know if you guys feel that way when you go to your blocks, but it's like, oh, this is actually a really fucking good movie. Like, I didn't think it totally was, and I knew it, but now it's like everybody loves it, so.
I kind of want to speak to what you were saying about if you don't like the theme. It's not about me. If you do something like this, you need to put your ego aside. It's not about you or how you feel. That's why having a rubric or a program that you go through and judge, because even if I don't like a film, I can appreciate the work that goes into it. I know that was countless hours, days, weeks, months, years of somebody taking time with their friends and family and working second, third jobs to pay for this, you know? So you kind of have to take yourself out of it a little bit. Now, when you watch it, if it doesn't score well on the rubric, it doesn't score well on the rubric. But you got to totally take yourself out of, well, I don't like this thing. Well, it's not about you, you know? So that's kind of how I see that.
I have a great example story about this. So I have been in my role as program director, this is my 3rd season, and when I came to this role, when I came to Port Townsend Film Festival 8 years ago, I could tell you exactly the films that the Port Townsend audience wanted to see. I could tell you the exact demographic of what the viewer, the average viewer was who attends Port Townsend Film Festival. Maybe a little bit thanks to the pandemic, maybe a little bit thanks to changing trends. Who knows what the whole of that is, but we're seeing that shake up. Our 70s, 80s demographic is falling a bit, thank you. And so I really feel like my job is to challenge our audiences. And so this year, 2025, I programmed 2 feature-length narrative films. One was a mockumentary, and the other was a gothic horror film, period piece, that I love the horror genre. Port Townsend will not program horror. Our audience just won't put up with it. But I did this as a test, and I was there for the Q&A. Both films, the filmmakers attended, which I think if you are able to get your film into a festival, attend as many of those festivals as you can. The feedback and love from an audience is so phenomenal. So anyway, I asked these audiences, this was a test, and you all paid for your ticket and you attended, and how was it? And the really great news is that the audience was ready to be challenged as well. It doesn't mean I'm turning around and now everything's going to be a supernatural feature-length film, but it's good every once in a while to step out of what we think we know in our roles and program something that might be a little bit tricky for an audience to attend. 3 of those 4 screenings, both of those films showed twice during our festival. 3 of those 4 screenings were sold out audiences. So it was proof to me that our audience can handle a little light horror. It was more Hitchcockian, you know, we didn't have any bloody shower scenes, even with ketchup. But it was supernatural. One of them was around a seance in the 1800s, and the mockumentary had a twist. I don't know, if you can get me with a twist, I'm gonna program it all day long.
twists are just part of being that original part. And I think also, anything I'm hearing here is just take a huge risk, just get a really high score in the West Sound rubric, and then you're fine. We have time for a couple more questions. Katarina?
Hello. How do you feel about music videos in general?
How do we feel about just music videos in general? Yeah, Nifty has a music video category, so we do screen a lot. And I would say, based on a lot of things you all said, one thing that I think is really important for all of your festival strategies, especially if you're submitting music videos, and like when it comes to specific themes that festivals prefer or maybe discourage, it's expensive to submit to festivals. It's kind of a racket. There's a lot of really scam festivals out there, and I can tell these are all real festivals, which is great, you know, and we can appreciate that. But like, be careful, and when you're submitting, do your research. Look at festivals to see what kinds of things are they showing. Do they program music videos? Do they, you know, if you have sci-fi film, but it doesn't look like that this festival typically has a sci-fi sidebar, maybe you can use some of that money towards a more genre-focused festival, right? And then also, make sure you submit something you can attend, I think. And when it comes to like preference, like there are some festivals that have prestige, but it makes a big difference if you can be there and make the most out of it. So when you're just thinking about that and budgeting, think about that. But yes, we do show music videos. Please submit to Nifty.
All right, I'm going to the next question. And those are music videos, great.
So you kind of covered that, making sure you're focusing your genre towards a festival that does it. You also kind of talked about, someone had mentioned that anything over 15 minutes you start getting judged more harshly. So for each of you, what would be the kind of sweet spot on a short film category of where a person should be aiming to come in at as a runtime?
For me personally, my sweet spot is about 12 to 17 minutes. And that's very, very specific, but it is. I think I had to eat my own words. I will never program a 30-minute short. I programmed my favorite short of all time that I've ever programmed this year in a narrative block, and it came in at 36 minutes. But there were only 3 films in that block because of that time. So also looking at the length of time of those blocks, I think I heard you say yours are about 60 minutes?
Actually, range 60 to 90.
60 to 90. At PTFF, 90 minutes is like our top. So we'll occasionally go 92 minutes, but you know, usually it's not anywhere close to the 2-hour mark. I did attend McMinnville Shorts Film Fest down in Oregon. All of their shorts blocks are about 2 hours. It's exhausting. It's like running a marathon, but it's a great ride and great value for your ticket price.
Same for me. I mean, yeah, that's about the sweet spot. I did have one this year, a short documentary that was 32 minutes, and everybody left crying. It was about the orcas in the Puget Sound. It was so sweet, and I watched it 4 times, and yeah, it just depends, and especially looking at the programming length and everything, it's part of it. It doesn't mean your film isn't going to get in if it's more than that, but it starts to be, okay, do we have this film or do we have 2 other films? So that's just where you think about it. And if you want to be in as many festivals as possible, that's a good spot to shoot for.
Yeah, I echo everyone says. It also depends on the type, right? So if it's animated, it's probably not going to be that long, right? And if it's nonfiction versus fiction. But yeah, for me, once you get past 15-ish minutes, it's really got to start, you know, hitting some big homers, which happens. It's great. It's awesome.
Sounds like what I'm also hearing is that after those long shorts, you got a 60-minute program. You're looking for those short shorts that are easy to accept to fill in those gaps. So, Jeff.
So, someone mentioned imposter syndrome earlier, and as student filmmakers, we're all very sensitive about our art. And so earlier, you guys were saying that sometimes it's not the quality of the film itself that is not why it gets in. So if you get denied from a festival, would you suggest continuing to submit the following year, or move on?
That's obvious. There's only one answer to that, and that's yes. You keep doing it. Like yeah. I know we all have different. We kind of go. It sounds like we've all gone through different struggles in terms of like what we can accept and what we cannot, and how we wish we can accept and cannot. And that's a lot of times nothing against the quality of the film. Because again, from my perspective as a filmmaker, it's like, yes, I want to root for everyone, but I understand that from a programmer perspective, it's just not that way. But yeah, I mean, I just can't stress enough, especially in a room full of students, young and old, seasoned and not. You got to keep hitting the record button, just keep doing it, because eventually it's going to get in front of somebody, and somebody's going to love it. And the person next to them might not, whatever. But that's art. That is art. So as far as I'm concerned, I just keep doing it. Yeah.
I would also say, I know you said that you give filmmakers feedback if they reach out to you. So does Port Townsend. Like, it's me. I will go into our review software, I'll pull out those comments, and I'll give you all of that feedback. I've also had filmmakers say, hey, I'm going to be in Port Townsend. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and talk about my film? I love that too. Like, again, when I say I wouldn't have a job if it weren't for you all wanting to make films, I don't know what I would do. Something really boring, probably. But yeah, I think ask festivals for feedback. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Use that letter option, the cover letter option on Film Freeway. We read those. Get some great stills. Pad your submission packet as much as you can with valuable information that will help programmers get to know you as directors or whatever your roles are, submitters, as well as a good film for us to review, because it's all part of the process. Having a strategy for your festival entry is important.
We have about time for 3 more questions over there.
Greg, I'll just add real quick. For documentaries, I feel like sometimes, and I see this with friends and filmmakers, is they might start entering festivals too soon. With fiction films, it's usually pretty clear whether the film's finished or not. And non-documentaries, it can be really hard to know, like, is this finished? Like, is this the story? Is this working? And so sometimes you start submitting to festivals and you get a bunch of no's, and then that can give you pause. And it's like, hey, maybe I need to step back a second, get some feedback from one of these no's, screen with some friends, and oftentimes you change that film, submit the next year, and you're in.
Ask for waiver codes, too.
Yes,
Please.
don't be afraid.
Yeah.
What's waiver codes?
Any
You don't have to pay the
festival,
submission fee.
any festival other than PTFF have screenplay competitions? Oh, very good. One suggestion is that we can't see the winning screenplay unless you put it out there for us to read. So if you make it available on your website at the end, the award-winning screenplay, please do that so we can learn from that.
You're not the first one to ask. The trouble with that is that these filmmakers are going on to creating a film with that screenplay. So how do we protect their art? Their right? Yeah, exactly. So we don't have the funds to pay for copyright to be able to do that. So, that's the tricky part of it. Port Townsend did start this year doing a table read of our top screenplays. Very, very valuable process. If you aren't table reading your screenplays, do it. And somebody besides yourself. Having another group of actors do your table read gives you such valuable insight to hearing your words out loud. That's something I hope will continue. So again, that doesn't help you see what the winning screenplay was, but if you're in that audience and hearing that, you at least see what those top screenplays were.
Cool. Do you guys invite producers or people capable of offering filmmaking resources, or are they kind of like expected to show up at these types of festivals? And with that, somebody mentioned there's a lot of scam festivals out there. How do we unexperienced folk know which ones are scam festivals, which ones are real?
A great way to pick out festivals to attend is to get on film forums and talk with other filmmakers. Word of mouth is one of the best ways to find which festivals that your film is going to do best in, and to make sure you're not getting scammed. Also look for places that have a location picked, and if you ever get a weird feeling about it, for example, the West Town Film Festival is at Roxy Theater. If you call Roxy Theater and say, hey, do you guys actually have a film festival? And they say no, then that was a scam. So a lot of the scam ones won't put a location. I forgot the other question.
I forgot the first part. You said something about, oh, if you invite producers.
Oh, yes. I actually, my full-time job, I work for Run Studios, and so I actually invite people from that group, and I reach out to other studios and groups to see if I can get anybody to come from those. It's kind of it's a roll of the dice whether or not they're coming or not, but yeah, we try to create those kind of opportunities.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hello. So for the acting side of things, what is it that you like to see from their performances that help the film get into your film festivals?
From the acting side, I mean, it depends on what kind of film it is. Somebody mentioned earlier how difficult comedy is. Comedy is so difficult, and I tend to check in with my jurors about what exactly they found funny and everything. We were talking about another film, a horror film, that was in the Poulsbo Film Festival last year called Vines. It was also in our film festival as well, and we were talking about the small expression changes that the character made and how he played a very understated villain, but he terrified you all the same. So it just depends on what kind of film and what the actor makes us feel, and just how they create that scene and everything.
Just an example that just popped in my head. You mentioned something about just is it relatable? There was a film that was at the film festival last year, and we did a little pre-screening. 2 years ago. It was called Days Out or Day Out.
Oh, Out.
Out and About, and basically the main character, probably 75% of his lines was voiceover. It was basically, we're hearing his voice in his head, and so 75% of his acting, well, not majority of it, was physical, and yet it was still attention grabbing. So I guess but it was, the main thing was that it was 100% relatable, and so is your acting relatable? Like, can we as an audience relate to what you're delivering to us in terms of as a performance? So that for me was a key. That example just pops into my head as soon as you asked that question. So that's what I would say. Is it relatable? Unless you're going into some sci-fi genre or something like that. Then, yeah.
Lines are great. Dialogue is great, but you can always cut back a lot of that.
And cut back a lot of dialogue in case you get too crazy with that. And the actors, you want their responses to things. And you want, when you frame their faces, get their eyes, get real close up in there. That's all I have to say. Not too close.
I would also just add that I feel like we see a lot of performances that are trying to emulate like a type of acting in different genres or different films. But what we really like to see, it's like similar to where I'm just saying, like, make a film that shows like your worldview and your perspective. Like, find actors that have charisma. Like when you're casting and thinking about it that way, like find your rhythms, and then like put that on screen, and we're like, yeah, okay, I feel this.
Cool, I think we're gonna wrap it up. So what I'd love to do is just get like one line, last recommendation for these filmmakers. We're all in the same room. You're creating great events. Just any one last piece of advice for these filmmakers. Something like make that 4-hour film called Distorted Alarm Clock. Clearly that's what you want us all to make. And then after that, I'd love to just give a second to appreciate y'all, but just one last piece of advice before we wrap it up.
Yeah, well, one thing I think we all kind of like talked about a little bit, but I want to really hammer home, is if you're making something and you're going to submit it to festivals, watch it with other people before you submit it, and before you just put it out into the world. Watch it with friends. Watch it with people who typically might not like the type of thing maybe you're making, the genre or the focus of it, right? If you feel like, oh, my film, it's 17 minutes, but I have like no idea what I could possibly cut. The moment you watch it with someone who's like not immediately on its wavelength, you feel it in your gut. You're like, oh, you know what? I could cut that. I could trim that. Like the experience of sitting there and like showing it to someone for the first time and then like scrutinizing it, it'll just reveal so much to you, as opposed to someone who's close to the production, someone who's already been looking at the footage with you and been with you for the whole process. Show it to someone with fresh eyes, and you'll discover new things. So I just always recommend people do that before you submit to festivals.
I think what I want to leave with you all is, we talked a little bit about imposter syndrome, and somebody up here mentioned it again, is know that you're not alone in that. Like, other students are experiencing that. I, as program director, continue to feel that. I don't have a film degree. How dare I judge somebody's film? Let that shit go. Like, honestly, I think you said earlier about just make that film. Just press play and make it happen. And I think that's the best thing. And then keep making it happen. So what if your first film didn't get in? Go make another one.
I would say, sorry, trying to narrow it down here, not give a giant monologue. Yeah, I would say have faith in yourself, but surround yourself with people who truly want you to succeed and who give you constructive criticism. Don't surround yourself with people who just tell you yes. Make sure it's constructive though, because if it's just criticism, it's useless. But iron sharpens iron. Network as much as you can. Surround yourself with people who are also hardworking and dedicated to the craft.
Yeah, Amy pointed, or at least among saving things, you point out waivers right before, which is that there's never a harm in asking for a fee waiver. Nothing comes of asking, right? There's no bad mark you get on the waiver or anything. So you gotta know sometimes because it's maybe policy or whatnot, but there's no harm. And sometimes you get them. And also submit early, and on Film Freeway you can become a gold member, which oftentimes film festivals we give 50% off for gold members, for instance. So there's ways to make sure that your festival budget is not 10 times your film's budget, maybe only 4 times.
Yeah, don't show your mom and dad because they're just gonna, yeah, no. But no, piece of advice. I always felt like on my journey, always felt like I was better than my last, but I never forget my first. So if you've done your first, if you have your first video or clip or film somewhere tucked away, don't discard it. Go back and watch it, and keep going back to watch it, and you'll be embarrassed probably, or you'll be like, oh God, I made that. Like that was crap. Like that was so bad. But watch it, and because I think from that, it's always good to just be humble, remember where you came from, and just remember or realize the journey that you have gone on, and maybe the crew you assembled with yourself or your creativity, whatever it is. But don't forget what you made that very, very first time, because that started your ascension. So that's what I would say. Don't forget that very first piece. Keep it. My first, my college gift was a Sony Handycam, and my first film was A Life of a Roach, and I did a POV of a cockroach. And I look back at it all the time and just like, I made that? Like, what the hell? I was like, but that's what started it. Life of a Roach. Anyway.
Yeah, I would just say try to attend as many film festivals as possible. Just watch movies, watch short format, watch features. That's how you learn, really, is by watching a lot of other people's works and seeing what worked for them, what didn't. And then network and talk to people and try to grow your scope of your creative, workforce. And so I think that relying on the community, that's what we have done for our film festival. I mean, we couldn't do what we do without being surrounded by such amazing entrepreneurs who want to see people succeed. And that's what it is seeing your cinematographer succeed, seeing your editor succeed, really supporting each other, because it is such a process. And sometimes when you look at the same work every day over and over and over, you can kind of feel daunting, and you're not sure if you're doing the right thing or not. So like you said, screen it with friends and family and when you can.
Awesome. So for me, the walkaway is just, honestly, this event was pretty frustrating because I didn't get this great advice when I started filmmaking, and I'm frustrated you get it now at this key moment in your trajectory. And that would have happened if you all did not come here tonight. And I know you have so much, you're not just doing these film festivals, you're also probably working creative types, or having day jobs, or multiple things you're spinning. That you came here to talk to us and was honest with your feedback and gave us actionable advice is going to be really useful for our students. So I just really want to say thank you for coming all the way out and talking to us tonight.
Poulsbo Film Festival this weekend, so in just like 2 or 3 days, right? Yeah.
2 or 3 days and they're here tonight. So we're all here. Thanks to you all for coming. It shows your initiative. It shows that you're taking pride in what you want to do in your craft, and you're in a room with people that feel the same way. So, well done. Good vibes, good humans. And now go enjoy rush hour traffic. Thanks, everybody.